Hello. Today we are standing on the Malecón and we are headed into an interesting place that you may or may not know about. We are going to pay a visit to Puerto Vallarta's Old Lighthouse. And we are going to do that by walking up Galeana Street, which is where you can find this itty-bitty little historical lighthouse, which at some point was actually in use. But that's not the lighthouse that I refer to. We are going to climb a couple of blocks up the hill, and you are going to get to see the original lighthouse that was in operation during the time in which Puerto Vallarta was not so much a tourist destination, but an industrial and commercial maritime port. Old historical photographs show larger vessels, ships as it were, docking here in Puerto Vallarta and loading and unloading all kinds of goods. Needless to say, Puerto Vallarta stopped being a commercial port many years ago, and the Old Lighthouse, which we're going to visit today, stopped being used as such, and in recent years it was restored to become a tourist destination. Now, it may or may not be open today because of the current pandemic restrictions. We are going to have to wait and see once we get there. But the good thing is that we're going to explore yet another one of these beautiful streets in Gringo Gulch that have all these steps and stairs. But we won't do that before first paying tribute to this beautiful sculpture here. I don't remember the name, but I do believe this is a sculpture created by Ramis Barquet. It is one of the famous sculptures near the Malecón. And let's just climb up the steps. Now, when I say climb up the steps, you don't need to be worried. This is nowhere near as challenging as when we went all the way up to the La Cruz lookout. This is a lot easier to manage. Why is it a lot easier to manage? Well, for starters, we're not in a hurry. And secondly, we are only going up for one block. So as you can see, we are almost to the end of our climb, and looking back, this is what it looks like. Isn't it beautiful? And the great thing about Gringo Gulch, this neighborhood, is that all the different steps on all the different streets are landscaped differently. And for the most part, are beautifully maintained. So here we are, Matamoros Street, and the Old Lighthouse is just half a block away. We're going to walk there so that you can see it for yourself. And ta-da! There it is. So let's take a look at what's going on up there and continue with our adventure. For starters, it's not closed to the public, which is good. And the public seems to be busy here, doing all kinds of public things, which is fine. Buenas tardes. We don't really care. If I was done with work, I would be sitting around somewhere getting high too. And here we are. This is the view of the bay from the Old Lighthouse. Now I'm going to have to look on my notes to see when it was built, when it was in operation, when it stopped being used, etc., etc. But for the time being, I wanted you to see a little bit of this gorgeous view, which is only 2 blocks away from the Malecón. Looking south, you can see the eyesore of Molino de Agua. Some of us remember when that building was not there. In fact, Molino de Agua was the first obnoxiously eyesore building that would eventually change the landscape of Colonia Emiliano Zapata. Then before us, of course, is the whole El Centro neighborhood. And then we can see the hotel zone over here. And of course, the tall towers are also part of the hotel zone. And of course, the rest of the bay. Today is a very beautiful and clear day. And from this vantage point, you can sort of appreciate the magicalness or the magical quality of finding a home in El Centro. A lot of these locations have been built almost on top of another. And of course, nowadays there's a huge combination of traditional original buildings and many others that are not so new. Wait, let me say that again. There's a combination of old traditional buildings and others that are completely new. And the big advantage of this neighborhood is that, you know, for the most part, you have many beautiful views of the bay. Some people might find that being so close to the church might be problematic because of the church bells. And also, the fact that you're living up on the hill does not necessarily mean that there's going to be a street where a taxi can drive you all the way to your doorstep. But for those of us that don't live in this neighborhood, it is always a pleasure to just walk up the stairs for 1 block and another block without stairs and find ourselves in this beautiful vantage point. So this is our walk for the day. I hope one of these days you find yourselves downtown Puerto Vallarta and you come check it out as well. Have a good one.